So it leads us to our third question. What stereotypes about men and fathering have you had to disrupt in your own life? What stereotypes about men and fathering have you had to disrupt in your own life? I think that's it for a second.
I'll start with this one. I think, and we touched on this in the prior questions, but this concept of this long held. Okay, I'll preface it by saying this: I grew up in the 80s, 47 years old, and so on television, my initial heroes, like I'm a comic book kid, Marvel and DC equally. I inherited some from my older sister. She was 5 years older than me. And so I came into the culture of receiving comic books. I like what I like, but when I was about 8, she thought she was 13. She was too old for comic books. I inherited all of hers. I had all these Wonder Woman comic books. But in reading the heroes that I chose, G.I. Joe, very much so the Super Friends and the Avengers, the A-Team was one of my favorite TV shows. I remember watching MASH and Hogan's Heroes and all these different shows, but it was always, and part of my language when I say this, problems got solved by these bandolero or sweaty guys where maybe one was super intelligent, the rest of them were brute strength. You had your cynical guy over here, but you had these bands and casts of men, and none of them showed any emotional sensitivity. So that was something that very much was not reflected in my household with Dad, because my dad was always present. Even through his challenges as a dad, he was physically there, but he went through a period where he was emotionally unavailable. And I didn't understand at the time, my dad was a functional alcoholic. He worked a corporate job. He was first working for a tobacco company, and then he was working for a bank. He was into big mainframe computers and stuff. But when he came home, he turned into the guy in the yard with the work suit on and the cigarette hanging here, and the cigarette would move when he talked. And I ran and got to go get this tool. If I didn't get the tool fast enough, you're too slow, boy, sit and watch. Now you can't go nowhere until I finish working. This was my childhood. He provided. He was always physically present. He went through a period where he lost his job. I didn't even know, because not a beat was missed in the household. If I didn't get it, it was because I didn't need it. And I understood it. You're not getting that because you don't need it, not because you can't afford it. And there was a whole lecture that came with this. And for a while, I grew up thinking that that's what manhood was about. But I'm so not that father that when it comes to my kids, I still come home in the yard and I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't have the dangle, with the hanging off of my lip. And I never push my children away when they want to know what it is I'm doing. I always allow them to be included. And if they do not want to be included, I don't force them unless it's a portion of something that's in their responsibility. You want this pet, you are going to participate in taking care of this pet. We're going to take care of this pet together. So of course you're going to naturally be included. Other than that, no, I'm not going to make you watch me change the oil. I'm not going to make you cut this grass with me if you're girls or my son. You're going to learn how to do it, but I won't force you into those things. So I think some of the stereotypes were these traditional gender role stereotypes that this is how a man is supposed to act, that I provide, and what was said in the comments and what was shared under the last question, that I love you because I provide. I don't have to tell you that I love you. Men can't be nurtured. All of those things are things I've had to challenge from the very beginning, or found myself challenging because I want to show up for my children differently.
Yeah, thanks for that.
And that resonates with me as well in terms of breaking down the role stereotypes. Again, in my household as a child, my mother did the cooking, cleaning, taking care of the children, and we got sick, she was there, and all those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. While my father sat back, and I can identify with the consumption of alcohol. He's sitting there drinking his whiskey, his beer, and all those kinds of things. What I've had to do is break down that. I take care of my stuff, so I don't mind cleaning my house. I like to eat, so therefore I don't mind cooking. And so those are the kinds of things that I've had to breakdown as a man and have tried to model that as a father. In fact, my son is an awesome cook. Now I don't know whether he learned that from watching me or not, but he can cook and take care of things. And so those are the stereotypes that that I've had to overcome. That even in that emotional sense as well. I have conversations with my children and I listen to them. That wasn't prevalent in terms of as a child. It was one way conversation for me as a child. Now I hold two-way conversations with my children and my grandchildren.
Thank you for
I have a
that.
little bit to add. Thank you. I think it's probably a two-part, but the stereotypes about fathering and men is twofold, right? It's everything that Chad says, what we see on TV, the TV shows, how men are displayed on there. Also, the stereotypes is society at large. I think that we have to combat as well, and it was frustrating because I had no other parents to take care of my youngest when I was single parenting him, or when his brother came to live with us from another relationship. I was doing that, had to always, well, make sure the mom gets this or make sure this. And it's this like roadblock. I've always been like, I am the parent. Like it all starts and ends with me, and really having to be an advocate for myself, an advocate for other fathers out there. And just really changing the image of fathers, right? Because, I have all these tattoos all over the place, right? My history is what it is, being in imprisonment, incarceration as a minor, as an adult, and all that. And that comes with a heavy tag at times of not being an adequate father, not knowing how to be a parent. Fathers who are, just babysitting their kids, or not even babysitting, just watching their kids, right? Not knowing how to change a diaper, not knowing how to do all these tasks that, if I didn't do it, I was let my kid walk around with a dirty diaper all day. I mean, he's not going to get a bath or things like that. And so that, I think, is very difficult. And then for a while, I ran a class called Inside Out Dad with other men who were incarcerated, and it touched on a lot of this, right? Being able to be open about who we are as individuals, being our best champion, and being willing to change, because it's, for me, everything was black and white, and my mother said, I don't really get along with my mom to this day, but one time she said, do you want your kids to listen to you because they respect you or because they fear you? And everything she's always said to me in my life, a lot of just in one ear and out the other ear. But this stuck with me because up until that point, I can honestly say I was probably not that best dad. My kids didn't, listen to me because they probably were afraid of me. I would break something. I'd be, I would cuss, I would scream, I would do stupid things like that. And that really woke me up because that was like the fork of the road. I really had to, learn a lot of new behaviors and change and really change the stereotype of what I had for myself as well. And be willing to do that. It was challenging, but I wasn't being the best father I could be. I wasn't reaching my father potential. I was living a life, raising kids, but still had a mentality of it's this or that. And it was difficult, but I feel that we also have to, for me, it's my own stereotypes for myself, my own views of myself as a person, to be able to better be a parent, better be a father, and, block out the noise, right? There's always noise coming at us, about what it is to be a man, what it is to be a father, how you're supposed to communicate. And for me, it was finding my own path. I didn't have a father, so it's like, what do I want to do? How am I going to do it? What suits, what's best for me and my children? Because if there's no example, I know I need to be there because my dad wasn't. I know I need to be off drugs. My dad was a drug addict, but besides that, what is there for me? I had to really find, the humility to say, okay, like I need help and I need to do it differently. I need to, examples, and also just figure out who I am as a man, without the gangs, without everything, and be a good person. So I just want to throw that in there.
Thank you, Justin. Those are great insights. Appreciate it. Is Carlos still have his hand raised? Andrew, let's pop in there, and then while we move to the last question. Hey, Carlos.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me on. I'm Carlos Aquino from Lawrence, just like Kenyo Perez. And I just wanted to say that one of the stereotypes that I had to deal with growing up about my father was that he wasn't there because he didn't love me. I had to realize that he wasn't there because that's what he got. So whatever he gave me was what he got. It wasn't that he didn't love me or didn't care for me. It was just that he didn't know nothing better. He may have wanted to choose better, but he didn't know how to choose better. And you can always say, because looking at our own lives, that we can always choose better. But there's a lot of people that sometimes get stuck up on the same cycle. And that's something I had to break myself. Stereotypically, Dominican men from the Dominican Republic, they're known for this kind of thing. You know, you either have multiple families, or you're not around, or you're this and that and the third. And he was a perfect example of that, because that was what his father gave him. Because I understand that what he gave me necessarily wasn't what he wanted to give me, but it was all he had to give me. So I just had to accept it for what it was, and maybe just create my own thing as I grew up older and started having my own children as well.
Thank you, Carlos. Appreciate you jumping in with that.